What's going on, everyone, and welcome into Expected Bets for your go-to podcast for all things hockey betting. I'm Gator Betting, joined by my co-host today. We got Franco the Banker. Franco, we are almost done with our season previews. We have 3 left. Now on to the St. Louis Blues in the Central Division. I mean, looking at the overall NHL picture now, I think these really help people, and even us too, of trying to get kind of a general landscape for the NHL this year. I think the Atlantic's going to be very strong, and I think the Central is they're going to be very strong as well, but I feel like there's more unknowns in terms of that middle ground, which St. Louis falls in, is going to be a very interesting position. They weren't great all year, but they did get really hot towards the end of the season, were able to push themselves into a playoff spot, lost in the first round, 4-3 to Winnipeg. In terms of these teams being in the middle ground, St. Louis seems like they're going to be right there. They do bring in Suter, Bugstad, to name a few players. But again, this roster looks pretty solid on paper.
Yeah, I like the looks of it right now. Comparing them with like a Minnesota, who I was higher on than you and Betsky, I like this team a little bit better, I think. I guess at some point there has to be one team that's going to be higher or lower than the other. I think St. Louis looks a little bit better than Minnesota. Yeah, I like the Suter addition. I think down the middle this team looks really good, which is always important. We always talk about that. And I think their winger depth looks really good now too, with the addition of Bugstad to kind of shore up that third line. I think that third line looks really good, at least right now. They got a ton of scoring from Holloway last year. Neighbors took a step up in the playoffs. We know how solid Thomas and Buchnevich are. I don't know. I don't see a lot of flaws with this team when it really comes down to it. Maybe you just look at that last pair of the on the blue line, but they're young. They could be better than what we think. But I think the top 4 on the blue line look fantastic. They added Fowler the middle of the season last year. Obviously Broberg during the offseason going into last year. Yeah, I mean, they lose Letty, which he was up there in age. They lose Ryan Suter, who was up there in age, and kind of get younger. So Binnington's always a wild card.
So
that might be your biggest issue there, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, who knows? Maybe he's still got a little juice.
Yeah, I think that's the major question mark with this team. 3 solid lines. You can even argue that 4th line compared to other teams across the NHL is still one of the better 4th lines out there. The deep pairings look good. The question mark falls in that with Binnington. We've seen his highs. We've seen his lows. We've seen his low of lows. But Hofer as a backup isn't necessarily like the worst option either when you're kind of comparing backup goaltenders. So I think that's really where you're drawing the line on this team. Their PK wasn't great last year. They did have a shooting percentage higher than the average. They ranked 28th in shots for, had a goals for per game ranking at 13th. So I guess maybe some regression in that department. But overall, this team looks really, really solid. Binnington and the goaltender tandem is your biggest question mark at this point.
And don't forget as well, I mean, this was a team that started out kind of bad with Bannister at the coach, and they hired Jim Montgomery towards the end of November, and really he turned everything around. So now you're coming in full off season with Montgomery. I think we can all agree that he's a good coach in the NHL. So that adds even more kind of to what this team is. I think that's just another bonus on top. Coaching does matter in this league, at least to an extent.
In terms of their team futures, so they had 96 points last year. DK has them at 92.5. FanDuel has them at 91.5. To make the playoffs, they are minus 115 both ways on DraftKings. On FanDuel, they are minus 120 to make the playoffs and should be pulled up now. Where are they? Minus 110 to miss the playoffs. So I think they make the playoffs again this year. I don't think that's a crazy ask. I think at minus 115, that's a pretty solid bet. I think they're in contention when you're looking at Minnesota, who is around, minus 150 to make the playoffs. I'd rather take the St. Louis Blues at minus 115 to make the playoffs. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm kind of, I know Betsy probably won't like this. I think this team might be better than Utah as well. So yeah, I think I lean over on the 91.5.
Yep.
I lean over on the to make the playoffs. I think this is a team that can make some noise in this division. I think they'll be kind of maybe third here if we believe the Jets are going to be as good as they were. I think Colorado's up there, but yeah, I think this is a better team than kind of what the books are giving them credit for. Hanging a 91.5 kind of feels like a steal a little bit to me, to be honest.
Am I crazy for even considering them to win the conference at 25-1? If Bennington gets hot, which he's done before in the postseason, they do have a roster that can contend.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like when I was looking at Stars roster, I don't know that I love as much as I did previously.
Yeah. Colorado with injury issues.
And who knows how these matchups shake out in the playoffs, right? Like if they can get kind of like an easier run and, Dallas and Colorado beat each other up again and Edmonton and Colorado face each other maybe, or Vegas and Edmonton play each other. Like it all depends on how that all shakes out. But yeah, I mean, at the prices and with the depth, and they have like youth. They're not, we talked about Nashville having guys that look good on paper but are just much older, and this team doesn't feel old. I feel like Luke Schenn is one of their older players, and he's not super old at this point. So, yeah, I think there's a reason to be excited if you're a St. Louis Blues fan.
Yeah, Cap will love this preview of pumping the tires of the Blues. In terms of awards, I think there's one where you really look at of Snuggerud for Calder, 16-1, the University of Minnesota product. It's on that top line with Buchnevich and Thomas. It's 16-1. I certainly think there is some value to be had there for sure. 8 points in his 14 games that he split between the regular season and playoffs. If he keeps on that pace, he's going to be in the Calder consideration.
He might be my favorite value for Calder this year. We talked about how Demidov's odds are just tanked so much in the plus 200 area. If I'm going to take a shot on somebody kind of outside of that top area there, he's the guy. He's moving into a perfect situation with Rob Thomas and Buchnevich on that top line, projected to be on the top power play as well. Obviously, that can change as the season goes on. But, I mean, this is a guy that showed it in college, and I think he's in a great spot. I think this is a team that's going to score some goals. It has a decent-looking power play on paper, and, yeah, I like the odds at plus 1,600.
Yeah. No, fully agree. I've already bet him, taken him at that number. So when we're talking value, it even just contenders, I think he has to be up there. Player futures, Kyrou is at 67.5 points. He had 70 last season. Thomas is at 81.5. He had 81 last year. Before that, he had 86 and 65. Bennington's win total is at 26.5. He had 28 last season, 28 the year before, and then 27 the year before that. Bennington played 56 games played last season. My concern is that I think as he gets older, I think that workload is going to be lessened with Hofer there. I don't necessarily love his win total, but I do kind of like Kyrou's points total over 67.5 this year.
That is where I would go as well. Definitely would avoid the Bennington one because I do believe at some point they're going to have to kind of get Hofer going more than he has been. 56 games every single year or more for Bennington is just too much. He's getting up there in age as well. So,
yeah,
the Kyrou at 67.5 looks really good. I think this is a team that scores goals. I think this will be a fun team to watch. Do we have a Holloway goal prop? That would be my other question. The guy was fantastic last year.
Yeah.
30 goals at plus 400.
Yeah, yes, we do have a Holloway goal prop. So 30 goals this season is at 4-1. He
Yeah,
had
I don't mind
26
sprinkling
last
that.
year.
I don't mind sprinkling that. He really kind of came into his own last year, and I think he's just going to continue improving. He's still very young, and he's going to get more run with this team, more opportunity. So yeah, I don't mind that as more of a long shot, 4-1 odds. Give me that.
Speaking of Snuggerud, he's plus 150 to have 50 points this season. I think he hits that as well. With ease, being on that top line and first power play unit, 16-1 to win the Calder, plus 150 to hit 50 plus points. Even if he doesn't win the Calder, I think he still cashes that season long prop.
Yep, I like that as well. Keep him on that top line. Like give the guy a shot. It's all about them keeping him up there.
Agreed. Any other futures for this team? Certainly higher on them than we were Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. I think this team has a little bit more to offer. I mean, Minnesota has the best overall player in Kaprizov, but I think the depth looks a little bit better on this team throughout.
Agreed. All right, we want to thank everyone for tuning in to today's episode of Expected Bets 4. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you haven't done so already. You can also follow us on social media at Expected Bets 4 on Twitter and on Instagram. Once more, we appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later. See ya. What's going on, everyone? The NHL season is almost here, and we have something special for all the fans and bettors out there.
Yeah, right now, if you click the link in our description, you can get the full Tails package for $40 off. That is by using code SEASON25, and you can get our package that's normally $120 just for $80.
In addition to that, you'll also get access to our one-stop shop betting guide loaded with team, player, individual team breakdowns, all the futures you could possibly want. So be sure to click that link in the description to sign up now.
Yeah, it's like ChatGTP put in an Excel sheet for you so you can rip through all of those future props. Again, make sure you're liking and subscribing all the Expected Bets 4 video content as well to help us grow. And we can't wait to be smacking in some parlays and straights with you all season long.